Hi everybody, I'm assuming you can see me. I don't know if somebody can give me a thumbs up to double check. Looks as if everything's working this end. I shall assume it's all working fine. Give me a thumbs up if you can, guys. Let me know there's somebody out there, but it's lovely to be here. For those of you who haven't read the title, my name is Pamela Rose and I'm a fatigue coach. And I help people who have got extreme fatigue, and I help them find ways to cope with that in order to regain a life that's worth living again. And these can be people that have got conditions like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, post-viral fatigue, corporate burnout, even post chemo treatment, those sorts of things. So I'm a fatigue coach, and you might be wondering, why is a fatigue coach well placed to talk to you today about anxiety? And basically it's because the people that I help, people with conditions such as I say, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, these can be really difficult health conditions to be having to cope with and have to live with, and they can feel very very worrying, very scary, very frustrating. Often nobody can give any kind of prognosis. They can't give any indication as to whether you're even going to ever recover. And that's a horrible space to find yourself having to cope with. And for many people, that can lead to feelings of anxiety. So because of that, I am very well placed to help people with that. And I do that every day. And I'm a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. That's one of my tools of choice. But there are lots of ways that I help people depending on what they need. So it's a pleasure to be here to talk to you today. I think I'm one of the last pieces of information that you're getting as part of your 6-week wellbeing campaign. And it's an absolute privilege to be here. I can see you've had all sorts of wonderful things happening over the last 6 weeks, and you've already been given lots and lots of advice about things you can do to ensure your mental health is balanced, and to create these wonderful self-care plans, etc., that will hold you in great stead. But my suggestions today, you'll be pleased to hear, are a little bit different, I think. I haven't read and watched everything, but I think they're a bit different than anything that you've heard before. So hopefully there's some new content here, and mainly because the things I'm going to talk about are quick fixes. So they're things that you can do very quickly to get control over your feelings of anxiety. As you saw in the title of this talk, I call them body hacks, because that's kind of what you're doing. So this is, stuff you can do in the moment, because a lot of the stuff you've been hearing about until now, all wonderful, wonderful stuff, but it can take a bit of time, discipline, consistent effort before the real benefits start to come through. And sometimes, even once you've done all of that, life still happens, and you can still find yourself in that, state of anxiety, or at least getting there, and you realize that actually you do need to do something, ideally to just calm your system down. So the quick overview of the content I'm going to walk through today. We're going to do a little bit of a science lesson, not much, because David from Anxiety UK has already explained a lot of the stuff that I was going to talk about. And for those of you that have watched his, I don't want to overlap too much, but just in case you haven't seen his talk, I will go into a little bit of that detail. Then we'll move on to talking about the body hacks themselves. And then we're going to finish with a lovely heart breathing exercise, which will get you into a lovely, peaceful, calm state, I hope, ready to enjoy the weekend after this probably a busy, busy week. doing whatever it is that you do. So I hope the next 20 minutes or so will be interesting, helpful, and enjoyable. So let's crack on. First of all, this brief science lesson that I was talking about, and this is because I've seen time and time again that when people understand why something is going to help them and how it helps them, they're more likely to do it. And if they're more likely to do it, it's more likely to help, is the bottom line. So I like to make sure I go into just a little bit of information to just help people really understand why what I'm suggesting they do differently is going to help them. So the reason I say my talk is so aligned with David from Anxiety UK yesterday is because he talked about the autonomic nervous system. And that's exactly what I am going to just touch on now as well. No surprise that we're both covering that, because it's the stuff that you really need to know about, and you need to learn how to manage if you're going to deal with anxiety. So the autonomic nervous system is all about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic responses that our bodies can get into. Both are there for a reason. Both are very sophisticated, developed responses that have, built and established over thousands and thousands of years as we've evolved. And yeah, they're there for a reason, but balance is needed. The sympathetic response is the fight or flight mode that you'll have probably heard of. So that's when you feel very, like I say, very heightened. Your system's being flooded with adrenaline. You're feeling nice and sharp and alert. And your heart is maybe racing a bit, your breathing's a bit shallow. That's this sympathetic response. And thousands of years ago, that would have been very helpful if you were being chased by a woolly mammoth or something, and it would have given you that spurt of energy you needed to get out of there. In current times, it's what would get you into that nice, sharp state when you were maybe going into a job interview for a job you really, really wanted, and it would keep you nice and sharp and on it. So, this sympathetic response is very, very helpful when it's needed. The opposite of the sympathetic response is the parasympathetic response. And again, as you heard David say yesterday, it really is the opposite in pretty much every way. It's what's known as rest and digest, and it's a much calmer, peaceful, pleasant state to be in most of the time. And where we see problems are when people find themselves in that fight or flight state too much, more than they should be, ideally. And in times that, like those that we're living through at the moment, we're obviously recording this during the lockdown for COVID-19. There's a lot of uncertainty there's a lot of concern, a lot of worry, and an awful lot of stuff on the news that doesn't make for happy reading. It's not that difficult to get into a state where your sympathetic response is starting to kick in. And as I say, that's fine if it's needed, but it being on too much can, it's not ideal, both mentally, but also physically. It can start to impact your immune system, and it's just not ideal. So if you think or you find yourself in that state, more often than not, I do really recommend you listen to the advice you've heard up until today, to really incorporate some of the things, those self-care disciplines that can have a prolonged effect, but also use some of the body hacks I'm going to talk to you about today to just quickly calm it down if and when you can. So that's the nervous system. And now we move on to the hero of my talk. Well, I say it's the hero, but again, David stole my thunder a bit and talked about him yesterday, which is the vagus nerve. I joke, it's all good. It's absolutely to be expected that we're talking about similar stuff. And there's a blooming good reason, because the vagus nerve is fascinating. It plays such a key role in all sorts of ways. We haven't got time to go into too much detail about it just now, but I will just recap a little bit. It's the longest nerve in the body. It starts in the brain and it goes right down to our gut. And it's got, nerve pathways that branch off to all of our major organs and other important systems. So it's really an intrinsic part of our entire system. It's called the vagus nerve, and even its name, the origin is from the same Latin word as vagrant, because it sort of meanders around our body. So that's the vagus nerve, longest nerve in the body. Now, it sends signals up and down from our brain to our gut, out to our organs. But the interesting thing is that 80 to 90% of the nerve cells in the vagus nerve are what are known as afferent cells, which means that 80 to 90% of the signals that pass through the vagus nerve are going up into our brains, which means that literally our bodies and what's going on below the neck can absolutely affect our minds, and therefore what we're thinking and how we're feeling. So that's why the vagus nerve is such a hero when it comes to starting to look at ways to calm down, as I say, that sympathetic response. It really shows that the brain and what we're thinking and feeling doesn't cut off at the neck. Until relatively recent times, that's what was thought. But now there's an absolute understanding. You'll have heard about the brain-gut connection, and the vagus nerve is a huge part of that. So it's been shown that electronically stimulating the vagus nerve can really help conditions, severe conditions like bipolar and those sorts of things by somehow electronically stimulating it. It can have a really calming effect on the symptoms that people with those conditions are experiencing. Now, don't worry, we're not going to go into anything that's going to involve you trying to electronically stimulate your vagus nerve. I'm not sure that would be the safest approach. The good news is you can stimulate it manually. There are things you can do yourself quite easily, pretty much wherever you are as well, to stimulate it. And if you stimulate the vagus nerve, you stimulate the parasympathetic response, which is that lovely calming one that you want to get into. So how do we do that? And we're on to the crux of my talk today. I hope you're hanging in there. Do ask questions if you need to, but on the other hand, it might be best to wait until the end and I've gone through all the content. So body hacks. I have 4 altogether, but the 4th one is to do with breathing. And as I'm going to be doing this lovely heart breathing, we'll leave that and I'll talk about that afterwards. So 3 that I want to talk about before that. The first one is very relevant to all of you being in a choir, because it's about stimulating your vocal cords. Or activating, your vocal cords. The vagus nerve, as I say, it runs right down our bodies, and it actually passes very, very closely to our vocal cords. So when you vibrate, activate your vocal cords, you are actually stimulating the vagus nerve, and you're creating what they call vagal tone, which will kick in that parasympathetic response, ultimately calming you down. So I don't know whether you would agree. This is where I haven't got any sort of immediate feedback, but when you've had a choir practice and you're home afterwards in normal times, you're back home, I bet you feel pretty good. And yes, a lot of that will be because you've been with people that you like spending time with. You've been perhaps performing some music that you particularly love, and what have you, and you just love to sing. But I bet you a big part of that will be because you've just spent the last hour or two literally activating and stimulating your vagus nerve. So have a think about that, about whether you do notice that you maybe, if you've had a busy day and then you're going to a choir practice, does it actually calm you down quite nicely? It could well be because of the whole vagus nerve thing. So singing is one way to do it, but if you're in, I don't know, in a work meeting or somewhere where it's maybe not appropriate to just start belting out, Verdi Requiem or what have you, there are other ways that you can stimulate and activate your vocal cords. And two of the obvious ones are humming to yourself, or gargling water or what have you. These are two actions. You could sort of discreetly nip out to the toilet or what have you and have a gargle or a hum, and again has a similar effect. So that's body hack number one. Body hack number two sounds a little bit odd, but bear with me, is to, with clean hands, and please, wherever you are at the moment, if you haven't got clean hands, don't do this, but it's to stroke your mouth, touch your lips. What you might not be aware of is that we have parasympathetic fibers in our lips. So if you are at the moment, or if you have in the past stroked your mouth, it's actually quite a nice sensation, isn't it? It's sort of a bit tickly, but it's kind of nice. And that's not, it's not necessarily accidental. It's because stimulating your parasympathetic state is pleasant. And if you think about it, things that are good for us tend to feel nice. Things that are bad for us tend to cause pain and what have you. So the fact that it's nice to stroke your mouth is perhaps further proof that it's good for you. But I can tell you this one works. It sounds a little bit surprising, but it does work. I use it quite a lot. I happened to be on the radio earlier in the week, and I do these things, but like everybody does, I get a little bit nervous. A bit of nerves is good for you. But while I was waiting to be patched through, I was sitting there stroking my mouth, just calming my system down, and it worked a treat. So that's a good one. And if you're in a meeting and you want to do that one, then sitting there kind of going, can actually make you look quite, thoughtful and measured. So that's an easy one to do really wherever you are. And the third body hack I want to mention is perhaps not quite so pleasant, but it does work. And that is embrace cold. So this is about the fact that when your body has to quickly adjust to extreme cold temperatures, something happens that means that the sympathetic response is dampened down, is calmed. I'm afraid I can't go into the real sort of science detail there, but as I say, if you expose your body to extreme cold, it will force a sympathetic response to calm, and then the parasympathetic one can come to the fore. So you could have a cold shower. Again, not necessarily very practical if you're at work or out and about or what have you. But a cold shower would absolutely do it. Other things you can do, though, that are a little less extreme are splash cold water on your face, or run your hands or wrists under cold water. Not quite so good, but it's still worth doing. Or drink a glass of ice cold water. Again, it has that, that's enough to kind of get your body really cooled and for that response to kick in. And the final thing, and this is actually quite a new one for me to suggest to you, is ice rolling. I don't know whether you've heard of that, but I should have got it. I'm so sorry. I should have had it as a prop. But it's a plastic roller that you put in the freezer, and you use it to roll your face. And it's meant to be, it's primarily because it's meant to be really good for the complexion. It stimulates production of collagen. It can reduce wrinkles and all of that. But what it's also doing is you're basically rolling ice over your face, which is also going to be helpful in calming down your entire system. So if you haven't ever seen an ice roller, have a Google. There's a big website beginning with A where you can buy them on, they're about £10 or something. And I actually do find it very calming to do that. So there's a little top tip body hack for you as well. So there's the three. We've had sing or hum or gargle. We've had touch your lips, stroke your mouth, and we've had embrace the cold. And that leaves us with breathing. And this is the final piece from me really today. And you might, in fact, I've seen content on your page. The benefits of calm, deep breathing have been mentioned in a few different posts by a few people, and quite rightly so, because it's hugely helpful, and you've probably found it helpful. What you might not have known is why. Why is it so helpful? And basically, when you are taking deep breaths, you're indirectly stimulating the vagus nerve. It activates specific neurons that you've got that basically detect blood pressure. And when they are fired off, they signal to the vagus nerve that the blood pressure is becoming a bit high, and in turn the vagus nerve will respond by lowering your heart rate. And if you lower your heart rate and your vagus nerve is nice and stimulated and toned, again, that will kick in the parasympathetic state and calm you down. So I'm going to end by guiding you through a bit of a breathing exercise. I wouldn't say it is a sort of a meditation, but it's not something that you have to be in a dark room and eyes shut, although that can be lovely. I have got this as a recording that I'm going to either I'll put it on Facebook or send it to Judith or Emma, and they can find a way to share it with you if you want it, so that if you want to do it again, you don't have to listen through this whole thing and find the bit. It's just a standalone video. But I'm going to guide you through it just now, and I hope you find it lovely and beneficial. It only takes about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and say goodbye. So I'm just going to switch over to my my script. I hope you can still see me, although it doesn't matter for this bit. I will assume you can, and I will get going. So what I want you to do is wherever you are at the moment, just try and get a comfortable seating position. Ideally with your feet on the floor, nicely grounded, and your hands on your lap. I realise that wherever you are, that might not be possible. And I have to say, Judith, I saw your comment that you're in your car. Possibly best not to do this and drive at the same time. You might want to just wait and do this when you get back. But if it's safe and legal to do so, find a comfortable seating position, hands in your lap. And if it feels right, yes, close your eyes. There's nothing to have to look at. Close your eyes and just listen to my voice. So I'd like you to start to think about relaxing and letting your body move into a softer state. Take your right hand and place it over your heart. And as you do this, start to take nice, calming breaths. Just slightly slower and deeper than usual, but not unnaturally or uncomfortably so. Just get into a nice rhythm of breathing in and out, in and out. And as you do this, I want you to start to feel every breath you take in flowing into your body through your heart and through your hand placed on your heart. Physically feel that breath entering your heart as you breathe in. Imagine it flowing into your heart and being so gratefully received. And then as you breathe out, feel it flowing back out through your heart as you exhale. Really feel it flowing back out through your heart and out into the atmosphere. So with every breath you take in, I want you to feel it flowing in through your heart. And then as you breathe out, feel every exhalation pass back through your heart as that breath leaves you. Breathe in through your heart and breathe out through your heart. Breathe in through your heart. Breathe out through your heart. And as you continue with that lovely, comfortable rhythm, just listen to the words that I'm saying. With every calming inward breath you're taking, you're also receiving and creating lovely, peaceful feelings to help your body relax. Let your shoulders and your neck and your back relax. Let the muscles in your face relax. Focus on your slow, gentle breathing and enjoy the calming sensation flowing through your body. With every out breath, let the stresses and tensions of the world evaporate and disappear. Visualize the tension leaving your body with every out breath, continuing to feel each breath leaving through your heart. So with every in-breath, you're breathing in those lovely, relaxed, calm feelings. And with every out-breath, any tension or stress you are holding is leaving your system. Continuing to breathe through your heart, letting those calming feelings enter your bloodstream and flow around your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your fingers and down to your toes. And as you breathe out, you're letting out the stresses and tensions. Just let them disappear out into the atmosphere. So let's do this together for just a little while longer. Breathe in through your heart, letting those calming breaths flow around your body, making you feel so relaxed and peaceful. And breathe out through your heart, letting all the tension evaporate. Breathe in through your heart. Breathe out through your heart. Breathe in and breathe out. And now, when it feels right to do so, move your hand away from your heart and back into your lap. Open your eyes if they were closed and give yourself a big, wide smile. Notice how your mind and body are feeling and just give some thanks for the few minutes of relaxation that your whole system has just benefited from. Slowly start to move and flex your limbs and wake your system up again. And focus on keeping that lovely calm feeling you've just created throughout the rest of the evening. And that's the end of the breathing meditation. It's also the end of my talk. So if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. But on the other hand, I realise sometimes you think of things afterwards. So please feel free to comment on the post or even contact me directly. You'll find me by Googling Pamela Fatigue Coach. You'll find me. But yes, if anybody's got any questions, now's the time. Can't see anything. Give you a few seconds. But I hope you found that useful. Hope it's been interesting, and let me know how you get on, whether you actually put any of these hacks into practice. I'd love to hear. Oh, lovely, it says thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Good. Well, I'm pleased you've enjoyed it, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and I'm hoping to be on the tea Zoom in the morning. So I will hopefully see some of you then. Take care and have a good evening. Bye for now.